All right, we're about to dive into one of the most just incredible and terrifying natural disasters in all of history. We're talking about Vesuvius's fury and the complete destruction of Pompeii. I mean, just try to picture it. One day, you have this bustling Roman city, right? It's full of life, people shopping, living, and then the next, it's just gone, vanished, buried under tons and tons of ash. It's a story that's almost hard to believe. But here's the twist, right? Its story didn't actually end. It was just paused. The city wasn't just destroyed. In a strange way, it was preserved. A single moment sealed away for almost 2 millennia. So how on earth does something like that even happen? To really get Pompeii, we've got to start with the most haunting part of it all, the human element. We need to talk about the people who were there, caught in those final terrifying moments. And the way we connect with them is just mind-blowing. These plaster casts, you see, they offer this incredibly powerful human link across 2,000 years. See, what happened was the volcanic ash hardened around the bodies. Over time, the bodies decomposed, leaving behind these perfect hollow shapes in the ash. It wasn't until the 1800s that archaeologists had this brilliant idea: what if we pour plaster into these voids? And what they got were these unbelievably detailed casts, capturing the final poses, the final moments of these people's lives. It connects us directly to their tragedy in a way that nothing else could. Okay, so before we dive headfirst into the disaster, let's hit rewind for a second. What was life actually like in Pompeii? Who were these people living in the shadow of this sleeping giant that they had no idea was about to wake up? Yeah, this was no sleepy little village. Pompeii was a thriving community. We're talking about a bustling city of, maybe 12,000 to 15,000 people. It was packed with everything: gorgeous villas, busy shops, temples. It even had a big amphitheater for public games. And because it was in the Bay of Naples, the soil was super fertile, perfect for vineyards and farms. Honestly, this was a prime piece of real estate in a really prosperous part of the Roman Empire. And here's the truly tragic part. Earthquakes were common there. They were just part of life. So when the ground started to rumble on August 24th, 79 CE, nobody really panicked. They'd felt it before. No one recognized these tremors for what they really were: the final warning signs of absolute doom. And then it happened. Around midday, the mountain that had been quiet for centuries just exploded. It unleashed a catastrophe that would unfold over the next 24 hours in 2 absolutely deadly phases. What's incredible is that we have an eyewitness account. A guy named Pliny the Younger was watching from a safe distance across the bay, and he wrote about it. He described this massive column of gas and ash that looked, in his words, like a pine tree. It shot up into the sky and then spread out at the top. It's such a powerful image, and it's pretty much how we've pictured the eruption ever since. So the destruction came in 2 horrifying phases. The first was what's called the Plinian eruption. For about 18 to 20 hours, it just rained ash and pumice. Think of it as a relentless, heavy, toxic snow. It piled up, collapsed roofs, and trapped people inside. But as bad as that was, the second phase was a whole other level of deadly. And this is where we get to the real killer, the pyroclastic surge. Now, this isn't the slow-moving lava you see in movies. No. This is a fast-moving avalanche of superheated gas, ash, and rock. It moves at hurricane speeds, hugging the ground, and just incinerates everything in its path. It is terrifying. And when I say superheated, I mean it. We're talking over 500 degrees Celsius. That's 930 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hotter than your oven on its highest setting. It's an instant, inescapable wall of heat. And this is where we see the different fates of Pompeii and its neighbor, Herculaneum. In Pompeii, many people were buried by that falling pumice and ash over those 18 long hours. They were either suffocated by the gas or crushed. But Herculaneum, it was closer. It was hit directly by those pyroclastic surges. The people there were, and there's no easy way to say this, flash cheated, instantly carbonized. Just completely different and equally horrific ways to die. So after all that, the city just disappeared. It was buried so deep, it was basically forgotten for centuries. Which brings us to the next part of the story: how this forgotten city was found again, and how a place of such tragedy became one of the most important archaeological windows to the past we've ever found. So the road to rediscovery was a long one. Herculaneum was actually found first, completely by chance, in 1709 when some guys were digging a well. Then in 1748, proper excavations started at Pompeii. But it wasn't until the 1860s that the archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli came up with that incredible plaster casting method, the one that really allowed us to see the human side of the tragedy. And what they started unearthing was just mind-boggling. Because the ash acted like a perfect preservative, it was like a time capsule. I'm talking entire buildings with their mosaics and frescoes still vibrant, graffiti on the city walls, political ads, jokes, love notes. They even found carbonized loaves of bread still sitting in ovens. And of course, those body-shaped voids that told the human story. It's literally a snapshot of life frozen on a random afternoon. Okay, so it's a jaw-dropping story. But what's the real legacy here? Why does Pompeii still matter so much today? Well, for starters, it actually helped create modern volcanology. That account from Pliny the Younger was so detailed, so accurate, that to this day, scientists call this exact kind of powerful, explosive eruption a Plinian eruption. They named it after him. So studying this ancient disaster directly helps us understand and predict volcanic threats right now. But maybe its biggest legacy is what it tells us about the past. Because it was frozen in time, Pompeii gives us this priceless, unfiltered insight into urban Roman life. We get to see how normal people lived, not just the emperors and senators you read about in history books. We're talking about shopkeepers, bakers, artists, everyday families. So when you look at the whole timeline, it's really something. You have that big warning earthquake back in 62 CE. Then the eruption in 79 CE that wipes it all away. It lies buried for centuries until excavations begin in 1748. And finally, in 1997, it's named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. What a journey from tragedy to treasure. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? Pompeii is this powerful symbol of both immense tragedy and incredible preservation. It's a somber reminder of a lost community, but it's also our clearest window into a lost world. Which kind of leaves you with one last big question to think about, right? If our world was frozen today, if some disaster preserved your town, your home, right now, what story would it tell about you, about us?